A signal to Britain and its allies of Vladimir Putin's nuclear firepower. Intercontinental ballistic missiles tested by Russia's nuclear forces. The president in command, a day after Ukraine used British-supplied Storm Shadow cruise missiles to strike targets inside his country.
Good afternoon, comrades. Today we have I want to emphasize this, scheduled nuclear force control exercise. As the Minister of Defense just reported, let's get to work.
Also working hard is Ukraine and its European allies. A Swedish fighter jet displaying its strength. Watching on, the Ukrainian president and Sweden's prime minister. Volodymyr Zelenskky plans to acquire dozens of Swedish jets. He needs Europe to keep supplying his country with weapons, as efforts by Donald Trump to broker a peace deal between Kyiv and Moscow flounder.
Ukraine is ready to move toward diplomacy. We support the matter of a ceasefire. We're ready for diplomacy, but not on the condition that we must withdraw from somewhere, giving the aggressor our land, our territory.
President Trump appears to support a ceasefire deal based on freezing the current front lines. But Russia wants Ukraine to give up more land. It means a plan announced just last week for the American and Russian leaders to meet in Hungary is now on hold.
No, I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens.
In Ukraine, though, there is no time to waste, as Russia's war devastates more lives. Rescuers scramble to save children from a nursery in the city of Kharkhiv, struck by drones. None of the boys and girls were harmed, but a person here was killed. Donald Trump says he wants to end the bloodshed, but Russia doesn't seem to be listening, at least not yet. Deborah Haynes, Sky News.
Well, as Mark Rutte prepares to meet Trump at the White House, our correspondent David Blevins caught up with him on Capitol Hill and asked about reports Zelensky's meeting with the US president had gone badly.
Secretary General, Sky News, can we just ask, is your visit here at this moment not an indication that President Trump's meeting with President Zelensky on Friday was a total disaster?
No, not at all, because this was already planned before. I was texting with the president after an enormous success in Gaza, and we said, hey, let's have a meeting in Washington to discuss how we now can deliver his vision on peace in Ukraine. And when it comes to the meeting last week, Friday, you have also heard President Zelensky. I think that was a good meeting. It was a successful meeting. It's exactly what we need. It's the American president who broke the deadlock with Putin in February, took that leadership role, which only he can, and he is delivering. And I'm really commending him for that. So that was a good meeting, and we will build on that.
Well, our US correspondent Mark Stone is at the White House for us now, waiting for Mark Rutte to arrive. We know what will be on the agenda. Do we know how he'll be received by President Trump, Mark?
Well, you say we know what will be on the agenda. We don't precisely know how today will be framed, because it is really very hard to keep up with Donald Trump's view and side, frankly, that he appears to be on in this war. I was describing yesterday, it's a kind of push-me-pull-you going on, where Donald Trump, as is often the case, seems to side with the last person he has spoken to. And so it was Vladimir Putin late last week who got in there early and had a phone call with Donald Trump. And that seemed to completely shift the president's position from the position he had just a few weeks earlier at the United Nations, where the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskky, seemed incredibly upbeat when I spoke to him there about where the position that Donald Trump was in then. So push me, pull you is kind of how it is at the moment. Mark Rutte is due here any moment now. We're not expecting that he will come in the usual entrance through the East Wing. At the moment, this is being framed as a private meeting. We do expect that afterwards, Mark Rutte may give a few words to us out here. We'll see if that happens. But there has been a flurry of news over the course of just the last hour, but also the past 24 hours. I mean, the fact that that Volodymyr Zelenskky is now publicly saying that he agrees in principle to a compromise being freezing the front line where it is. That's new, that's very, very significant, and it aligns with what Donald Trump has been asking for. It clearly also means that Ukraine would be giving away quite a lot of land, which is not something up until this point that Zelensky has been remotely interested in. So that's really important. And then in the last hour, two bits of news which I think are pivotal. The first is that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, in the last 20 minutes has been out here at the microphones and announced quite out of the blue that either tonight or tomorrow America will impose new and significant sanctions on Russia. Now, you'll remember that the Americans have always had this sanctions option in their back pocket. They've not used it, presumably because Donald Trump thinks that it would prevent Vladimir Putin from coming to the negotiating table. It would turn him off in that sense. But now they appear ready to put those sanctions into place. And the other bit of news is that the Americans are now allowing their own systems to be used by Ukraine to allow Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia. You saw the reports, and we reported yesterday, Deborah Haynes reported that British Tomahawk missiles were used, British Storm Shadow missiles were used by the Ukrainians in an attack overnight or yesterday. That could only have happened if the American systems were activated to allow that attack to take place. So it seems once again a dramatic shift by the Trump administration, now away from Putin and back into the Ukrainian camp.
Mark, thank you very much for the moment. Be back to you hopefully when Mark Rutte arrives. Thank you.